$429,000.
It just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about some huge epic battle scene.
No.
We're not talking about some, moody, abstract painting that you need a PhD to understand. We're talking about a painting of a kitten.
A small, fluffy kitten. Maybe it's playing with yarn or snoozing on a silk cushion.
And the gabble drops. And it sells for the price of a good-sized house. It's just wild.
And the craziest part is that's not a one-off. That number, it's the result of this very specific moment in history where coziness was like engineered into a luxury product.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're looking at how getting the anatomy just right, a few secret painting techniques, and a total pivot in marketing turned these animal paintings into status symbols.
Yeah, for monarchs, for billionaires, for everyone. And it's really a story about three very unlikely masters of this whole thing. You've got a photo retoucher from Rio de Janeiro, the daughter of a brilliant painter who went blind, and a kind of rebel from the Belgian art scene.
It sounds like the setup for a joke, but these are the people who did it. We're talking about Julius Adam, Henriette Ronner-Knip, and Charles van den Eycken.
And what's so key here is that none of them, started out just wanting to paint cute cats. This was not a hobby. This was a strategic, high-stakes battle for survival in a really brutal art market.
Okay, so let's get into their backgrounds then, because you say survival, and that sounds a lot more intense than just painting for fun.
Survival is honestly the only word for it, especially if you look at Henriette Ronner-Knip. She was born in Amsterdam back in 1821. Her father was Joseph August Knip, a master painter. But then tragedy strikes.
Wow.
He went blind.
Oh, wow. For a family that depends on art for income, that's terrifying.
It should have been the end for them. It really should have been. But her father, he didn't give up. He basically put Henriette into this forced apprenticeship. She was 5 years old when she started copying his sketches.
5 years old?
5. As his sight got worse, she literally became his eyes. We're talking working from dawn till dusk, just painting to keep food on the table.
So while other kids are outside playing, she's in a studio basically running a production line.
Exactly. She later said it was better than any formal art academy. But you have to imagine the pressure. She had to be good at everything. Landscapes, livestock, portraits, whatever would sell. Her family's life depended on it.
That is such a heavy burden for a kid. Now, how does that compare to Charles van den Eycken over in Belgium? Was his childhood just as desperate?
Not desperate, but maybe just as inevitable. He was third generation. His grandfather was a painter. His father was a painter. He was born in Antwerp, so he was practically breathing in the smell of oil paint from day one.
So for him, it wasn't a choice. It was just the family business.
It was a family trade, like being a blacksmith. Art was his default setting.
And that brings us to our third painter, Julius Adam. His family situation sounds a little crowded and incredibly competitive. The Adam family, they were basically the royalty of animal painting in Munich. But, and this is the key thing, they had monopolies on certain subjects. His uncles, his cousins, they were famous for these heroic war scenes, for noble hunting dogs and horses. So if you're Julius, where do you even fit in? You can't be just another horse painter in that family.
You can't. You'd always be the second best Adam.
Right.
So his decision to paint cats, it was a totally calculated market choice. He looked around and realized nobody in the dynasty was touching cats. It was a niche he could own.
That's really smart. But before he actually gets to painting cats, he takes this detour that I found really surprising. He goes to Brazil.
He does. He goes to Rio de Janeiro. And this is, I think, the most crucial part of his story. He spent years there, but he wasn't painting. He was working in his father's photography studio as a retoucher.
A photo retoucher in the mid-1800s. I mean, that must have been incredibly detailed work.
It was so intense. You're working on glass plates with these tiny, tiny brushes and chemicals, fixing imperfections by hand. It requires almost microscopic attention to detail.
And you think that's what made his painting style so unique?
It's the defining factor. When he finally came back to Munich and started painting, he brought that photographic eye with him. That's why his cats look hyperrealistic. He understood focus and light in a way other painters just didn't.
So Adam is bringing this precision from Rio. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back in Europe, Van den Eycken is joining this group called Lessor. What was that all about?
A lessor, it means taking flight.
And it was like a total reaction against the stuffy, old-fashioned art academies. Their whole thing was unique art, unique life.
So they were rebels.
Total rebels. Van den Eycken's teacher, Joseph Stevens, hated the idea of the idealized animal. You know, the heroic dog that looks like a Greek god in fur.
Stiff and noble and perfect.
Exactly. They rejected that. Van den Eycken started out painting the gritty street dogs of Brussels. He learned to capture reality, the dirt, the scruffiness.
But he eventually switches to fluffy kittens. That's a huge leap.
It was a leap fueled by smart marketing. Lesser was brilliant at getting around the traditional art world. They held their own exhibitions, and get this, they ran lotteries.
Lotteries for paintings.
Yeah, you'd buy a ticket and you might win a painting. It opened up art ownership to a whole new class of people and built this huge client base for him internationally.
Which brings us back to the market, because Henriette Ronner-Knip also made a huge pivot around 1870. She'd been painting working dogs, and then suddenly, it's all cats. What happened?
The Industrial Revolution happened. It created this massive new middle class, the bourgeoisie. And these people, they didn't want paintings of farm animals. That was, too much like the labor they were trying to get away from.
They wanted symbols of their new life, a life of leisure.
Exactly. A working dog, it earns its keep. A Persian cat sleeping on a velvet pillow does absolutely nothing. It is a pure luxury item. It broadcasts to everyone that your home was a sanctuary of comfort. Ronner-Knip saw that demand and just went all in. Pure business instinct.
Let's dig into the technique here. Because anyone who's tried to draw a cat knows they're basically made of liquid. It's so hard. How did they capture that texture? Ronner-Knip had something special, right?
She did. She developed what's called the vibrating brush. See, she noticed that if you paint every single hair, the animal just looks stiff. It looks like bad taxidermy.
Right, because real fur has depth and movement.
Yes. So she started using these rapid, short, textured strokes. She'd layer the paint to create what she called an illusion of air in the fur. The goal was to make you feel the fluffiness. She wanted you to have the physical urge to reach out and touch the canvas.
And she also changed her color palette.
Oh, she had to. She started with those dark Dutch master tones she learned from her father. But then modernism started to creep in, and critics called her work conservative. So she brightened everything up. Lighter backgrounds, more light. She was always adapting to stay on top.
Van den Eycken had his own trick for that tactile feeling, though. He was a master of contrast.
He was. If you look at his paintings, he almost never just paints a kitten on a rug. He'll place the soft, fuzzy animal right next to something hard and cold. A silver bowl, a polished wood desk, a leather book.
Oh, I see. So your brain automatically compares the two textures.
Exactly. The hardness of the metal makes the kitten's fur seem infinitely softer by comparison. It's a fantastic psychological trick.
Speaking of psychology, that gets us to the stories in these paintings. They weren't just portraits. Julius Adam, our cat Adam, was supposedly a genius at this.
He treated them like little actors in a play. He painted what we call genre scenes. Take his painting, The Little Patient. You have one kitten with a little bandaged paw looking all vulnerable, and the other kittens are sort of sniffing around with this mix of curiosity and concern.
It sounds almost human.
It is, but he never lets them become cartoons. They're always anatomically perfect cats.
Yeah.
But he projects these complex emotions onto them, and the viewer immediately starts building a little story in their head. It's all about empathy.
And Van den Eycken, he took that narrative idea into a very specific setting. The library.
Yes. He loved putting kittens in these spaces of intellectual labor. Archives, studies, right on top of a stack of heavy books or maps.
Which, let's be honest, is the most realistic cat behavior ever. Oh, you're trying to work? Let me sit on that.
It is, and it creates this wonderful contrast. You have the heavy, serious world of the human, the books, the knowledge, and then the playful, chaotic energy of the kitten. It makes the silence of the library feel alive.
Ronner-Knip, on the other hand, she went full luxury.
Oh.
No messy desks for her. Her cats are basically royalty.
She was curating status. Unlike other artists who might paint a scruffy alley cat to make a social point, Ronner-Knip refused to paint, quote, common cats. She would turn you down.
She only wanted the purebreds.
Only Persians, Angoras, Maine Coons, and then look at the props. Expensive violins, Rococo furniture, silk tapestries. The message was, this animal belongs to someone important, and if you buy this painting, you're important too.
And that strategy obviously worked, looking at her client list.
It's like a royal who's who. The King of Prussia, the King of Portugal, the Queen of Belgium. Maria Edinburgh, the daughter of the Russian emperor, was a huge client.
And she got official recognition for it.
The Cross of the Order of Leopold II. I mean, for a woman artist in the 19th century, that was a massive deal. It meant she wasn't just a painter of cute things, she was a serious cultural figure.
So while she's conquering the courts of Europe, Van den Eycken is looking west. He totally cracked the American market.
He did. He realized that the new American tycoons, the Carnegies, the Vanderbilts, they wanted that European cultural stamp of approval. So he exhibited at the 1893 Chicago World Fair.
And was selling through galleries in San Francisco, of all places.
Which is just amazing. You have a painter in Antwerp selling these cozy domestic scenes to a steel magnate in Chicago or a gold rush heir in San Francisco. It just shows how global the market for cozy had become.
But we have to talk about the downside of this kind of success, especially for Julius Adam. He gets that nickname, Cat Adam.
And that nickname, it really became a prison for him. We call it the Cat Adam trap. He was a hostage to his own popularity. He could paint landscapes, he could paint portraits, but the market just didn't care.
If you didn't have a cat, nobody wanted it.
Exactly. If he painted a mountain, crickets. If he painted a kitten, it sold before the paint was dry. The market forced him to stay in his niche.
He was completely pigeonholed.
Totally. But, when you look at the auction prices today, that pigeonhole was clearly lined with gold.
Which brings us right back to that $400,000 number. Why are these paintings still commanding that kind of money now?
It's that perfect mix of incredible technical skill, that vibrating brush, that photographic realism, and the pure marketing of comfort. You're not just buying a painting, you're buying a window into a perfect, peaceful world.
And that idea of a peaceful world feels so much more powerful when you see what happened next. Because the world around them did not stay peaceful.
No, it did not. World War I just shattered all of that 19th century calm. And there's this incredible sort of moving story about Charles van den Eycken during the war.
He was in Antwerp when the Germans invaded in 1914, right?
Yeah. The city was occupied. He was trapped. He couldn't leave, couldn't get papers to escape. The world outside his studio was barbed wire and soldiers and shelling.
And what did he do?
He went into his studio and he painted kittens. He just kept creating these little scenes of perfect, soft, innocent mischief while his city was literally under occupation.
That completely changes how I see these paintings. It's not just cute anymore. It's almost a form of resistance.
Yeah.
A way to hold on to sanity.
It gets to the heart of what we could call the sociology of comfort. These artists were the first to really get a modern truth. The more chaotic and frightening the world gets, the more we crave these little symbols of peace.
The factory whistles are blowing, the cannons are firing, so I need to stare at this painting of a kitten to feel okay.
That's it exactly. They monetized that feeling. They figured out how to turn a fleeting moment of animal silliness into an enduring, valuable commodity.
So when we're scrolling through our phones today, watching a 10-second video of a cat falling off a chair, we're basically doing the same thing.
It's the exact same human impulse, whether it's an oil painting for a king or a TikTok for, a billion people. We're all just looking for a little glimpse of perfect domesticity. These three just figured out how to do it with much better lighting.
And much, much nicer frames.
But the legacy is the same. It's a reminder that great art doesn't always have to be about tragedy or conflict. Sometimes the most serious skill in the world is dedicated to making us smile when everything else is dark.
That's a really powerful place to leave it. If you enjoyed this look into the world of million-dollar kittens, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It really does help us out.
And maybe go give your own cat a pat. Just don't expect them to sit still long enough for a portrait.
Definitely not. Until next time.